Jeff and Steph's excellent
Adventure. Oh, yeah.
cold weather adventure. Oh, yeah.
Even
Oh,
Ziggy said.
Ziggy, what do you think?
Ziggy says, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
So, Stephanie,
Yes.
we're not really cold weather campers. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because I know a lot of people love it.
Yeah.
They love to go out in the cold and do that whole camping and I will say it's great being inside in cold
Yeah.
weather. It's so cozy inside the camper, right?
It is, with the sun coming in the windows and it warms it up
Yeah.
nicely. Yeah.
But we don't. And this is us.
Yeah. Jeff and I, we run from the cold anymore.
We like it warm.
Yeah. We're from the Pacific Northwest and
Yeah.
we just get chilled and cold and wet a lot of the winter. And so part of RV life for us was the ability to be in the warm sun and chase the sun.
Especially when your house is on wheels.
Yes, you can
Right.
do that.
Right.
That's the beauty of this lifestyle. You can seek out the kind of weather that you like.
Right. But now that we are in unexpected, I might say, cold weather camping, there are some necessary steps to take to make it more enjoyable
For sure.
and
Yeah.
perhaps avoid a disaster on top of that.
That is true. You
Right.
could end up spending a lot of extra money
Mm-hmm.
because of cold weather damage.
So I think we should today talk about what we do
Yeah.
for cold weather camping.
Yes. As you can see, it's absolutely beautiful outside behind us now. We're in the Verde Valley and we're in a really nice campground. Daytime temperatures are right around 60 and sunny. So the sun does help warm up the rig during the day, but the nighttime temperatures are brrr.
Now I hear about people that are camping in, 20, 10, even colder, and
Yeah.
they're having a great old time and all the power to them.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure. But for us, too cold.
Too cold.
Too cold.
Yeah.
It gets really cold in the nighttime here, and it is freezing temperatures.
Yeah.
And the rangers, when you come into the campground, do warn you every rig as they enter that they need to unplug at night from water. And this is a big problem in this park, as we were here last December and January, and our neighbors' water lines and water filter froze and exploded, and it flooded us out because we were downhill from them. And this has happened to multiple people in this park during the winter time, and so we're super careful about this. We don't want to have to deal with new hoses, new filters, frozen lines, pipes bursting,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
And here's the thing. We use a couple of different weather apps, and, we should probably have our own dedicated thermometer, maybe outside somewhere, remote thermometer, whatever.
That would be a good Christmas present.
Right? But here's the thing, okay? Like, if you look on the weather app, like if you got a smartphone, it'll show, like for instance, last night, it says it'll get down to about 34 degrees.
Yes.
So, if it's 38 or below, I unplug and pull in the hose. But it actually is much colder than that, or it could be warmer depending on where you are. And as an example, last night they set a low of 34, and it was actually 31.
Yeah.
And maybe 30 or 29, who knows, because the thermometer is not that accurate. But it's definitely freezing because there's little puddles and things outside we saw that had ice on them. So we know it was below 32.
Yes.
So if we were going just by the forecasted temperatures, it didn't say below freezing. So technically there was nothing to worry about, right?
Yeah.
Wrong. And instead of finding out the hard way, let's show everybody what we do.
Yeah, better safe than sorry. That's what we always say.
Right? So we'll do the inside first, and then we'll go outside and show you what we do out there.
Yeah. And if you guys have any tips as to things you do or things you see we don't do that might help, let us know. We're always up for sharing the knowledge in this lifestyle. Some people have been doing it a lot longer than us and have more experience, or they're cold weather campers. So there's some helpful hints that could come about from this video.
Roger that.
Yeah, let's do it.
The most important thing is make sure you got plenty of propane.
Yes.
Keep those tanks full because it goes fast.
Yes. If you're cold weather camping or you're going to be somewhere, make sure to stop and fill up propane tanks or get it in your campground, and be prepared for some cold nights or being able to use the propane.
Right. So for heat sources, we have a propane heater, like everybody for the most part. We also have an electric fireplace. Okay. Now here's the thing with an electric fireplace. I know a lot of people turn these on and they'll just run them all night or however long they have to keep the heat going inside. The problem is we've had a couple of these in houses prior to our RVing, and we had one in another RV and they all burnt out.
Yeah,
So-
after use, after a couple of years, the motor tends to give out.
They
And
do give out.
this has happened to us a couple of times, so we do use our electric fireplace sparingly.
And they're expensive to replace. They're $300, $400, $500. So something like that. If you've never had one burn out, you might be tempted just to run this all the time because it makes sense. But they do not last long. So what we do is we have a couple of these little heaters, and they sell these on Amazon. They have different heat settings, and they have a fan setting 1, 2, and 3. Now, every heater you buy, electric heater, I don't care if it's oil filled, one of these types, or quartz, or whatever the other ones are, they're all 1500 watts. And they'll say to heat this size or better, but they're all 1500 watts on high. And we have a new coach, 50 amp coach, and you have to be real careful because these can start fires. And if you don't have the right size wiring for these, they can burn out. Now I can only speak of 50 amp coaches because I don't know with 30 amp coaches how safe these are. But when this is running, you can literally feel the plug and see if it's getting warm. And I've even pulled open the fireplace because it slides out and check the wires behind it to make sure there's no heat building up on those wires, because that will start a fire. So that said, as a 1500 watt heater on the high setting, 3, we never run it on 3. In fact, at night, we run it on 1, which is somewhere around, I think it's 600 watts. And I think the second one is like 950, and then it goes to 1500. So we never let these things run on high. But the thing is, they're safe to run on high if you're doing it the right way. And this running on high, if it ever wears out, what are they, $29 on Angel?
25.
Yeah, so even if you are running these in cold weather all the time, I would even maybe toss these after a couple of years and just get 2 replacements for them because they just don't last forever. So we run one of these out here in the living room, and we have one in the bedroom we run, and we have the gas or the thermostat set for 62, which just means that it'll kick on at 62. Because if it's below freezing, you also want to heat the undercarriage because that's where all your piping is. So you don't want it super warm air inside where the thermostat's not kicking on underneath to keep the wire of the water hoses and stuff thawed. And of course, we also turn on our tank heaters, which are basically a heating pad stuck to the tanks. If it's 38 degrees, right around that range, I always turn them on. Make sure there's water in them, or in the case of your waste tanks, make sure there's something in them before you flip them on. Supposedly, it won't do any damage if you leave it on, because they kick on at like 48 and shut off at 65. But there's always these little tales of tanks warping because you left them on with nothing in them. In fact, Bill Martin, who is part of the group that
Alliance
owns,
CEO, yeah.
He even suggested on a post not to turn on your tank heaters unless there's something in them. So that's good enough for me. So we make sure we have something in before I flip them on.
And the benefit also of the tank heaters is we feel the warmth in our floor.
Yeah.
Our kitchen area and in front of our stairs and refrigerator warm up when the tank heaters are on. And so you can feel that it's radiating some heat upward into the fifth wheel.
For sure. And the first thing I do when I get to a campground, especially if we're going to be here for a while, a day or two, I wouldn't bother. I fill up the freshwater tank and flip on that heater just in case there's a freeze outside and there's a problem with the water source outside, we have our own self-contained 100 gallons of water that's being kept warm with the tank heater. So if anything is to happen in cold weather, we do have that backup.
Another helpful hint for cold weather camping is the use of really warm bedding. And I want to show you a trick that I found to be really helpful when we're in cold climates. So we use a duvet cover instead of a comforter. We find that we like it better because sometimes the dogs jump up into bed with us and there's dog hair and dirty paws and whatever on the comforter. And a comforter is big and bulky and hard to wash. And the duvet covers, if you're not familiar with them, they're a cover for your comforter. And they have zippers or buttons at the end. And so it encloses your comforter. And it's essentially like 2 sheets, whatever size bed you have, a king or a queen. And you can take it off and wash it each week like your sheets. We usually roll with 1 comforter, and that's plenty at night. But since we've been camping in cold temperatures, we have a second one, and we put these together for added thickness and warmth inside the duvet cover. So as you can see, I've tucked the 2 comforters layered here inside the cover, and I'm going to zip it up now. And then when it's all done and put together, we have a really warm, thick comforter. And remember, when it's cold, layers, layers, layers are your friends. Make sure you guys are bundling up your dogs and making sure they're nice and warm to go out on walks. Our dogs wear coats and sweaters in the morning and at nighttime walks because it's super cold. You can see how cute they look in their little coats and sweaters. Hi, guys. So we're getting ready to go for a walk.
So this is our water supply at this campground, and you can see it's wrapped to help keep it protected. And these are designed to not freeze, but they wrap them anyway. So what we do is basically unplug at night and then plug back in the morning. So I'll show you how we do that. So here's my hose, and I should show you about the water pump because it can be a problem, okay? So, on a newer coach with a newer water pump, as I've been told, they have an adjustment on it. And we hadn't used our water pump.
Yeah, we haven't had any cold weather camping since we bought our Paradigm this summer. And so this was the first time we were actually using our water pump. So we turned it on the first night, and it was cycling, and you could hear it running every 22 seconds. Yeah, we were timing it to see if it would lessen eventually or what, and it was so loud. We ended up turning the pump, off, and then turning it back on again when we needed water and turning it off. We did that for a day or 2 until Jeff figured out what was going on with it.
Well,
and we want to share this with you guys because you might need to do this adjustment yourself.
So when you hear that thing cycling, the first thing you think, there's a water leak. There almost always is. So I took out the compartment underneath here, and I checked every water fitting, every connection, couldn't find anything wrong. It was still cycling. So I found out this little trick, okay? So on that pump, there's a little valve. It's a little rubber valve, and as the water goes across it, it keeps the water from backing up back to the tank. But apparently, and this is a SureFlow pump, apparently it was turned down really low from the factory setting, on the factory setting.
And this is normal when you buy it new. Yes. The factory sends them out set very low.
Yep. And this may never happen to you. It might work fine, but it happened to us. And again, I expected a leak. So I learned about this adjustment, and I'm going to show you where it is and how to adjust it so that the pump, that valve slams shut, holds the water back, and it stops cycling. So if you come in here, Steph, you're going to have to probably come around this way. And here's our water pump, okay? Right here. Okay? And right here This is a little Allen. You take your Allen wrench, put on this little screw right here, and you turn it counterclockwise. So what I did was I turned it counterclockwise about 90 degrees and turned the pump back on, and it still cycled about every 2 minutes. And I turned it another half a turn and turned the pump on and stopped cycling. So it basically strengthened that little valve in there to keep it from opening and closing so quickly, and that took care of the problem. So
Yay, Jeff!
yeah, what a tech I am, right?
Yeah, Jeff's like almost a certified tech just
right.
in his own right.
I haven't found anything yet I haven't been able to fix. But
Right.
The good thing about that was, again, we were just turning it on and off as we needed because I couldn't find a water leak. And I was thinking the water leak might be all the way back to the holding tank. Maybe the hose was loose and it was dripping out of there enough just to cause enough of a leak. But after I did that little trick, it stopped doing it. It doesn't cycle anymore. And that worked for us. So it might work for you. It'll save you calling a tech and save you some money for sure. So try that out if you have to. So a lot of people use heated hoses, and I've heard they work good, but they're a bit cumbersome and hard to work with.
And costly.
And they're pretty expensive. Now, our whole thing is to avoid cold weather, so we don't really care that much about having one of those. Thought about getting one, but I said, what is the sense of getting a heated hose when our goal is not to be where it's cold? And if it's cold like it is here before we get out to the warm weather, we'll just unplug at night. It's just as easy, and I feel safer about it. So I use Quick Connects. These are really helpful, especially when you're setting up when you go to a campground. You just plug them in. There's no screwing them in and checking for leaks and all that. And in our case, it goes up through the bottom hole here. Doesn't that make a nice sound? And then we just put it up on this, and that's it. Now that's all connected, and then I can just run my hose down. Now I want to talk to everybody about these water pressure regulators.
Yes.
Okay. So you should have a water pressure regulator on your hose because in the case of this one, I bet it's 120 pounds, and your RV is designed for probably 55 max. So I like the kind that we can dial in the pressure and adjust it up and down as we want. And these are really important to have. Everyone should have one. Ours only last about a year. We found that after about a year, they stop working. And here's the big thing. If you leave one of these out in the cold, ruins them. And I've had two I ruined because I kept them out in the cold a little too long. And the next day I went to plug them in, and the needle was pinned over past 100. So I don't know what the reading is. So I just had to toss them and get a new one. So now I'm extra careful because these are not cheap, especially these good ones. And I really recommend this style. Now I unplug, and I'm going to avoid that problem, and it works great. So let's just go plug this in and get some water flowing again.
Let's do it.
All right.
So it is the morning now, and we had unplugged the night before, and we were using our water pump and our water in our tanks, and then we just go hook up again.
So that's that. Turn it on. I always check and make sure our pressure is good. And we're right around 40 pounds. It's a little low, but it works fine. Your Nautilus to where you want it. City water setting right there. And now we're all set for the day. And you know, my father was in the Coast Guard, and he was always crazy about having hoses curled up just right. So
Look at our hoses. They're gorgeous.
Yeah, right. So that's pretty much it. And when it gets later in the day, I'll close our one valve that's open because Steffi's going to do some laundry and
Yeah, we need
shower.
some water today.
So we'll flip that back on later today and shut that valve, and good to go. So Stephanie, do you know the greatest thing God gave us? Not to get too religious, but you know
The
what's
sun.
right? Besides life, sun.
So awesome.
And we love the sun.
We do. We hope this video helps you guys. There are other things if you're more long-term for cold weather, such as skirting. You can put around your skirt to insulate better.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah, we are movers and shakers where we're only at parks for a week to 3 weeks at a time. So we haven't had the need to use skirting. And again, we're trying to follow the sun and stay warm. Oh, I get some crazy.
Well, hope these tips help you guys out. I mean, we definitely don't know everything, but we're a work in progress. And if you know any other tips, excellent adventure.